Hello, this is Kristen McManus. I am the teacher for the AP European History course, and I wanted to give you a brief overview of what you can expect from this class, the curriculum, and how it's generally set up. So, to begin with, this is me. I am Mrs. McManus. I have been teaching here at Bromfield for 13 years, and 7 of which I've been up here at the high school. I am also a chapter advisor for our Bromfield BPA chapter, and I also work for the Massachusetts BPA Association. So the AP curriculum is rigorous, as it is expected, of course, to be a college level course that high school students can access. So the exam itself is not necessarily all about content, but it is incredibly skills based. And so you will see that I work a lot with the students on historical thinking skills. So the course itself does include history of Europe from roughly 1400 to the present day. And it is writing intensive for 2 reasons. First, my job is to prepare these students to take the exam in May, and that the exam itself is over 50% writing. And then secondly, as a historian, I can tell you that historians write a lot and that students are really being trained to think like a historian. Now, one thing that is different if your student has never taken an AP college level course is that they are expected to do a lot of the learning on their own. So I like to tell the students that I kind of give a highlight reel, if you will, of the important concepts from a particular chapter that they might be reading, and that I do not have time to go over every single aspect of that chapter. So the expectations for this course are to at least have 1 hour of work per night for this course. This also does include homework over the weekends and on some vacations as well. Now, the registration for the exam is definitely open now. It does close earlier this year in October, and the exam is Friday, May 5th in the morning at 8 a.m. Now, the students do have the opportunity to potentially cancel as it gets closer, but you should look to the email from Mrs. Lamory about the details and the refund policy. For my class, I use Google Classroom for everything, and this is for pushing out assignments, for collecting assignments, for posting announcements as well. I also pass out a packet that has all of the handouts and work that we might do with that particular chapter or unit. Now, the students know all of my assessments ahead of time because I've planned it all out beforehand. And in fact, for the AP course, because I need to get through the curriculum by a certain point for them to take the exam, I have actually already scheduled every test and essay that they might have from here until May. And so the students all have that already at their disposal, both in handout form and on Google Classroom as well. And then lastly, we do utilize AP Classroom, which is put out by the College Board. That is really great for practice questions. They have video reviews, and they also even have assessments and other things that we can do on that website. The students have all logged in and have already been deep into using AP Classroom. Now, a few things about my course. Late work is generally not accepted for credit. Of course, there are some exceptions like an absence or an extenuating circumstance. And I always will accept a major project or essay late, but usually points are deducted for lateness. I take academic integrity incredibly seriously, and I do make sure to teach and reinforce this with the students during class time as well. And then lastly, PowerSchool is always up to date. I post there multiple times a week. So if you really do want to see how your student is doing with grades, or you want to see if they're missing any assignments, please double check that. I would also encourage you to talk to your students if you do see a missing assignment, to see if perhaps they can advocate for themselves, which leads me to how you could support them as a family. I would encourage you to ask your students questions about how the course is going. And I would also remind you to have your students take breaks if they need to. An hour's worth of work can be a lot, particularly if they're taking other strenuous courses. And so sometimes I see students that are up way too late doing homework. And so I would encourage you to remind your students to take a break. Advocate for self-advocacy. So what I mean here is that the students are 16, 17, 18 years old, and I really try to encourage them to come to me if they have any issues, if they have questions, if they have any concerns about anything, because I really want to try to encourage that skill, as it will be very helpful for them once they leave high school as well. And of course, you may reach out to me at any point. Email is generally best if you have any questions or concerns or anything that might come up. And lastly, you could utilize Google Classroom to see the parent and guardian summaries, but you could also ask your students to look at the to-do list that is on Google Classroom or the calendar, and you could also look at PowerSchool as well. Please feel free to email me at any time at kmcmanus@psharvard.org. And I thank you so much for watching this screencast and for your support this school year.